Hi everyone, Catherine here from Inky Finky Cat, and this is my first Make It Masculine of 2026. And I actually decided not only would I make my card Make It Masculine, but I did a bit of planning beforehand. I knew I wanted to use balloons because that was my theme for this month, but I went and selected one of the cards from the Colour Cube. Now, the Colour Cube card that I chose was number 1 because I thought I would, rather than my Colour Cube challenge, which is pick one at random, I thought instead I would actually choose one. And the first one I came across, I thought, well, that's perfect for a masculine card. Blue sky, green balloons, this will work beautifully. And so I went ahead, chose all of my colour inks. I decided I was going to use distress inks for these. And then I popped them to one side and went and made a whole load of sentiments. Do I remember I've done that by the time I get round to making this card 3 days later? No, of course I don't. I tell you, my brain. Anyway, I will put this into speed up, but I did start it off at a slightly slower speed, sort of slightly more normal speed, just to show I could talk to you a little bit about the inks that I've chosen. So, I haven't obviously got the exact inks that are in the Colour Cube, but what I have got are some distress inks that are going to look fairly similar. So we start with Salty Ocean for the blue and then Faded Denim. Here we go. I think I've started to speed up a little bit. Oh no, I'm probably still in relatively normal speed at this point. But yeah, they're the 2 blues. Then the 3 greens, if we go from the right to the left in terms of the colours that are on the card, I went with Peeled Paint, Lucky Clover and Pine Needles. As soon as I put this peeled paint on, I was like, oh, it's not quite the right colour. It's a bit mucky compared to the actual colour on the picture. But do you know what? I make it work. So I have sped this up now. Editing Catherine is different from talking Catherine, apparently. She remembers what she's done, honestly. So I did decide, no, what I'm going to do is put the Lucky Clover and the peeled paint together so that I've got some highlights to the balloons, some lighter areas and some darker areas. And that then works fine. I love this die and stencil set from Waffle Flower. I think it's so cute. It's so easy to do. I just love it. And I hadn't used it for ages, so hence I decided that my theme for January was going to be balloons for my Make It Masculine. Perfect. Now on the blue, I did the same thing, as in I did add the 2 different colours. I added the Salty Ocean first and then a bit of the Faded Denim. My denim is a little bit worn out. It's a little bit dry. As you can see here, this is me going on. Not with the lightest of hands, because I am not a light-handed blender. I am a quite heavy-handed blender. So I did decide on this one I was going to go in with that Pine Needles over the top of the Faded Denim, just to give a slightly different look. And I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So is it perfect match to that card? No, of course it's not. But you know what? It's good enough for me. I do want to give this some dimension, and I know that the cardstock I've used probably would have been fine, but I do choose 2 sheets of very thin cardstock, this blue cardstock, just to stack it up. These are scrap pieces of cardstock that are in my scraps box. They're there because they are not sturdy enough to do die cutting on their own, and they absolutely need to be stacked. So I stacked this up, a bit of glue in between each layer, and just took it carefully to try and make sure it was lined up and we weren't going to end up with some kind of shadowing or layers peeping out. And then stick it underneath the final layer with the inking on top, and I love it. Just makes it into a nice sturdy piece. This is going to sit directly on my card blank with some foam adhesive underneath, but I decided I wanted a 5x7 card blank, so I did have to make one because I hadn't got any pre-cut that were white. Now, I did want to add a little bit of dimension to these balloons, so I've taken my white Posca pen and I'm just sort of in the lighter areas where the inking is lighter, I'm adding those little lines to indicate shine and dimension. You probably can't see it so well on the video, but I promise you on the project at the end you can see it quite well. Although I do end up covering quite a bit of the middle panels of these balloons over, because of the fact that I've forgotten that I've done that foiling work with all those sentiments specifically to go with this project. I mean, I genuinely had prepared all the inks, was all ready to go, and then thought, oh, I'm going to need a sentiment, and I hadn't got any foiled birthday sentiments that were going to be the right colour. Oh, I'll go and do foiling. Oh, do you know what? I'll do a technique video. Yeah, that was on Tuesday's video, I think it was. Did it on Sunday. I filmed this on Thursday, completely and utterly forgot that I had done all that on Sunday and released the video on the Tuesday. Totally forgot. So at this point, I'm thinking, right, what am I going to do for a sentiment? And I thought, oh, I know, I've got that die sentiment that says, it's your day. How about you do that? But I want it on similar coloured inked cardstock. So I used my distress inks to ink it up. I used 2 different kinds of inking. I did use the distress inks that I'd got. That faded denim was just not dark enough. So I went and chose some Night of Navy. Yeah, Night of Navy from Stampin' Up. Also a dried out ink pad. Apparently navy ink pads don't last very long in my house. And then at this point, having gone and grabbed the die, which took a little bit of time, sorry, it was a bit of a boring screen to look at, I did then add some pine needles just to make one half of it slightly more tealy coloured. It didn't look teal, it just looks like a dark greeny blue, ocean coloured really. I love how that looks. I love this die. Again, I don't use this very often either. I cut the frame for it, or the layer for underneath it, out of the white. Part of me is going, oh, could have cut it out of vellum, but that's hindsight. If I'd cut it out of vellum, you'd be able to see more of the balloons, but never mind. All you needed was some separation between the words and the balloons, though, because they would have got a bit lost with all of that colour going behind. Again, I stacked 2 layers for the white just so that it was nice and sturdy, but I decided not to put any more dimension and to just put it straight onto the balloons. And then on my desk was this Happy Birthday from Indigo Blue magazine kit from years ago. I am using it at the moment for a different project that I'll share with you at some point in February probably. And this was something that I just cut out from it, and it was just sat on the desk. So I use that just at the bottom to add the Happy Birthday sentiment. So I am trying to make an effort with the insides of my cards. In this case, I decided to just use the ink up that was on my blending brushes and that stencil, and the stencils to ink up this piece of grey-blue, again, scrap cardstock. I'm only really concentrating on getting the colour down. It's not really about massively making the pattern clear. It's just to put something that's going to be a sort of an edge to the inside of my card. So I'm going to cut it down just slightly so that it is, I think it ends up sort of being 9.5 by 13ish. And then I do cut a smaller white panel, and that's going to go in the middle. So all you see is the edge of this panel, but again, it sort of looks similar to the front of it. So there is some kind of bringing the outside inside the card. I don't bother adding a sentiment because I have only left a relatively small white panel compared to the size of the card. I mean, it's more than enough to write a message on. And obviously you could always write a larger message on the left-hand side if you wanted. And that, I'm pretty convinced, is my card done. I didn't add any gems because this is a boy card. I did not add any shimmer because this is a boy card. I just kept it as it is. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I have obviously slowed it down at this very end so you can just see the colours one last time. I'm really pleased with this, and I really like the colours that the card helped me to choose. So here are some close-ups. Hopefully you can see a little bit more detail now. I really hope you've enjoyed this. So my plan with Make It Masculine is to make one masculine project each month. Because people wanted me to continue. So there is already a playlist of 12 projects from last year, and I'll just continue adding to it this year. So that just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to see future videos. There's plenty going on the channel. Please do leave me a like if you enjoyed this project and a comment to say hi, and if you like making mail cards, or if it's not your favourite thing to dig either. Thanks so much for watching, as I said, and until next time, bye bye.